like to thank all of you for being here today. And I'd like to thank all of you for being available for these last 7 weeks for these speeches and presentations that I've had to give. My name is Rachel Jennings again, and I think it's no surprise with all the presentations I've given so far that healthcare is pretty important to me as a nurse. And so I've based a lot of my speeches on things related to healthcare. And today's speech is no different. So with healthcare, I think it's really important to set some goals and some standards that are easily attainable. To tell someone to go out and run a 5K every day or to eat just vegetables and fruits every day is not something people can really do. So I like to focus a lot of my healthcare interventions on things that I think can be easily done, that are not too time consuming, but again, can reap some great benefits in keeping you healthy. So I'd like to start today's speech by giving you a little personal story, something that's happened to me probably within this last year at work, and kind of relate that into my speech this week. So sometime within this last year, I was walking down the hall and a call light was on, and it wasn't my patient, but it's not unusual to see a call light of another patient on and to go in to see what they need. So I walked into this room, like I do any room, knocking on the door, introducing myself, presenting to the patient to see what their needs are. And I can tell you, as a nurse for the last 8 years or so, I've seen a lot of interesting things. I've seen some really cool things, and I have seen some really scary things. You get used to it, and you kind of almost have to build yourself a mask so that when any of these scenarios are going on, you can still look calm and cool and collected to the patient, but even though on the inside you might be thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. This happened to be one of those. So I walked in the room again, knocked on the door, introduced myself to see what the patient needed, and at this particular time, I met eye contact with the patient laying in the bed. And this was an older gentleman, no surprise on my medicine floor. But as I caught eyes with him, I was completely taken off. I was looking at a patient who did not have a nose. There was no nose at all. I have never seen this in real life. In movies, I've seen things like that, but I've never seen a person making eye contact, talking to me with no nose. There was just 2 large holes going into his skull, and this was normal for him. So I did what I could, kept together, helped the patient out, and then as I left, I was immediately in search of the care nurse because I just had to know why this guy didn't have a nose. And as I found the nurse and got to talking to her, I found out that this gentleman had had skin cancer on his nose. And it had spread enough where they were unable to save his nose and had to take the entire thing off. I'd never seen that before. I didn't even realize skin cancer could really do that. I'd never thought about it that way. So that's what this presentation is about today, talking about skin cancer, and one of the easiest ways to try to prevent it is with sunblock. So before I get into telling you really about what sunblock is and how it works, I want to share with you some really cool things that I learned researching this presentation over the last week or 2. So I was looking on a website on Centers of Disease Control, or the CDC, and was reading a survey that was done in North America that found out that, surprisingly, with all the information we know about sunblock and skin cancer, that most Americans are still not wearing sunblock on a regular basis. Actually showed about less than 30% of women are wearing sunblock on a regular basis. Less than 15% of men wear sunblock on a regular basis. And then for those with darker skin or who tend to burn less, the percentage who wears sunblock is even less. For the 30% of women who are wearing it, the majority of the time the sunblock is only on their face. And interesting enough, that's actually because a lot of the makeup products women wear have sunblock already in it. So that's how they're getting the sunblock on. And women generally are not putting it on for the effects to try to prevent skin cancer. They're actually using it for the anti-aging effects. So skin cancer really isn't even in the thought of the sunblock going on. So I thought that was just something really cool that I had learned looking over this. So sunblock. I want to tell you a little bit about it and how it works. So the sun produces 2 very harmful rays. UVA and B, and those penetrate the skin. Without sunblock, Those can cause dark spots, they can cause premature wrinkles, they can age you faster, of course, cause skin cancer, and then as we all know, the sun can cause skin burns. I'm sure at any point in time in your life, everyone has had some kind of a burn from the sun. We all know it hurts, peels, blisters, all of those normal things it goes through, but it does do a lot of damage to your skin. So how sunblock works is it actually gives you a layer of protection and blocks those UV rays from being able to get in. According to the CDC, still on a cloudy day, 80% of these harmful rays can still penetrate the skin. So that's again why it's really important to wear sunblock. So according to the Cleveland Clinic, the more that your skin burns, you get more of a leathery look. It gets a little thicker and harder looking. You may think that's maybe even protecting you more, but that skin is actually more damaged. It breaks down easier and actually bruises easier. So the burning that you get in that leathery look is actually not good for you. It's pretty harmful. So SPF. The CDC recommends using an SPF of at least 30 when you're going to go outside in the sun. I don't know if you really understand. I did not before this what SPF really means. So when you're picking a number, say SPF 30, what that means is when you're wearing that sunblock, you have an extra 30 minutes approximately of your skin to be exposed in the sun before it's going to start to burn had you not had the sunblock on. So if you're not wearing it, you're going to burn faster. So the higher you go, the longer you supposedly have protection from those harmful UV rays. You want to do a couple of things to try to improve how this sunblock is going to work for you. You want to put it on 15 minutes before you go outside. You want to not forget your lips, your ears, and your scalp to get sunblock on those. Those are the 3 areas that are forgotten the most, and the ears and the lips are one of the most common to get the skin cancer on, actually. 1 shot glass full, according to the CDC again, actually will cover your whole body. So it doesn't take a whole lot of sunblock. You don't really have to just lather it on in a generous amount. So I thought that was interesting to learn. And then you want to change your sunblock out about every year or 2 if you haven't used it all, just to keep it good. I suggest keeping some in your purse or in your car so that it's always available for you when you find that you're going to be outside for an extended period of time. If you're doing swimming or a lot of sweating, you want to reapply it even more than every 2 hours. Just to keep that protection going. So say lo and behold, unfortunately, you do end up at some point in time in your life with skin cancer. You know, what does that mean? What does that entail? So according to the Cancer Center Treatment of America, skin cancer is when the skin cell has been damaged, the DNA has actually been damaged, and it can no longer control itself. So normally your cells, when they see that something's going wrong, they can shut themselves down and terminate themselves. With skin cancer, they are unable to do that, which allows them to multiply and grow at an unprecedented rate because there's nothing to stop it. So that is what skin cancer actually is the damage to the cells and the DNA. So with most skin cancers, they're actually very easily treatable. You can most of the time actually get them removed. A little bit of treatment further may be needed, but most of the time dermatologists can just cut them right out when they're found at an earlier time. If skin cancer is left untreated, of course it can spread and metastasize. It can cause disfigurement, as we know from my story, the gentleman with the nose, and unfortunately it still can even cause death. So I'm not telling you all this again because I want to scare you. I just want you to understand that some really easy interventions can go a long way in providing good health care and keeping you healthy and safe for as long as possible. So when you think you're going to be outside, and not just swimming, that tends to be the biggest time when people think about using sunblock, but if you're going to be outside gardening, working on the car, going for a walk, stop and think about adding just a little bit of that sunblock on because it's really going to go a long way for you in helping to protect you. Thank you again for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.